Thank you, sir. Hi. That was a great Viking entrance. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Sam. Thank you so much for being here. I am honored to be here talking about a course I'm working on, Angular for the Visual Learner. You might see throughout this presentation that there are little distortions in my character, and that's because I am still in the process of learning 3D animation. I tried to get them to push the conference back like just a week, but apparently it was booked, and you guys bought your tickets, and so they said no, but it's fine. I want to start off by quickly talking about why this course was made. And if you have any questions at the end of this, you can find me at the speaker panel, and a lot of other speakers at the speaker panel, and I'm very excited about that. So. This story starts when I was much younger, learning to code HTML and CSS. I was really good at it, and I really enjoyed it. When I moved on to Angular, I started struggling a lot. For example, my mom, who was teaching me Angular at the time, was having to teach me the same things over and over again. I was struggling to remember what she was teaching me. Most tutorials weren't helping me. I would avoid working on my new, exciting job because I felt really stupid. I was getting constant headaches and stomach aches all the time, and the biggest problem for me was my reading comprehension. I could read something over and over again, and it just would not make sense in my head. At this point, I was convinced I wasn't smart enough to be a developer. I was actually about to lose my job because it looked like I was just being a lazy teenager. And after months of banging my head against the wall, I was ready to give up and quit. Now, these problems didn't start with Angular. They had been there my whole life, but once I started writing Angular, all of my self-taught coping mechanisms weren't helping me anymore. Luckily, I was working so closely with my mom for the first time, and she was able to see all of these symptoms and add them up to something called dyslexia. So what is dyslexia? Google's definition for dyslexia is a general term for disorders that involve difficulty in learning to read or interpret words, letters, and other symbols, but that do not affect general intelligence. Okay, be honest. Raise your hand if you knew what dyslexia was before I told you. Okay, that's a good amount. One of the first things I learned about dyslexia is how common it is. In America, there are 40 million American adults with dyslexia, and only 2 million know. And that's just the adults. I want to read an excerpt from Dyslexia International, an organization leading the way of standardization of dyslexia in the school system. It might seem a little dramatic, but it really encompasses why this is such an important issue. Dyslexia occurs in at least 1 in 10 people, putting more than 700 million children and adults worldwide at risk of lifelong illiteracy and social exclusion. Significant numbers of students with dyslexia go undiagnosed and their symptoms unaddressed, with tragic results, due largely to the global lack of awareness and knowledge about this common learning difference. Fortunately, research shows that when teachers are trained in early dyslexia identification and intervention, 90% of children with dyslexia can be educated in the regular inclusive classroom. What's more, strategies for students with dyslexia will benefit all readers, not only those with dyslexia. Strategies for students with dyslexia will benefit all readers, not just those with dyslexia. You get that, Madonna? Because we are living in a visual world. Okay. So during our research, one of the first things we came across was a book called The Gift of Dyslexia by Ron Davis. And I know reading a book to learn about dyslexia is kind of backwards, but it was a great book. It explained the Davis method of learning, which, to summarize in one word, would be pictures. We do everything in pictures. We think in pictures, we learn in pictures, we live in pictures, hence Madonna. I thought I was very clever for that. This explains why HTML and CSS were so easy for me, while Angular was not. In HTML and CSS, when you do virtually anything in your code, as soon as you save it, that change translates directly to the interface. You can see a button being made or an inbox being changed or anything like that. Whereas Angular, so much magic happens behind the scenes. It's really hard to picture how everything works together. I hope this is my water. I'm going to drink it. So walk with me here. Everyone is here to further their developing skills. The best way to learn is to teach, but if you're teaching only to the general population, then you're leaving 1 out of 10 people behind. Furthermore, based on studies by Dyslexia International, pictures help everybody learn, not just those with dyslexia. Do you guys agree with that? Raise your hand if pictures help you learn better than a wall of text. Look around, guys! The thing is, visuals help a lot, but for some people, visuals are the only way we can learn. 1 out of 10 people learn like this. That is 700 million people in the world that can only learn in pictures. Why isn't this a bigger issue? Why is nobody talking about this? Well, I can probably tell you why. It's because a lot of dyslexics feel stupid, and we don't speak up. So many people with undiagnosed dyslexia think they're stupid, but they are not stupid. We've talked a lot about the issue. Let's focus on moving forward. We are going to bring my friend Lars up here to do a little test that really showcases the gifts of dyslexia. Yeah, Lars! Woo! So, this is the cake test. This test can be done on anyone. It can also be given by anyone. If you think you may know somebody with dyslexia, try doing this test with them. Warning, you might get a little hungry. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to start out by putting your hand in front of you. Okay, now close your eyes. I won't do anything crazy. Okay, so you're going to picture a plate. Can you visualize a plate in your hand?
Sure.
Okay, what does it look like? Describe this plate to me.
You might want to talk loud. You don't have a mic.
Yeah. So this is
Sam's mic. Oh, wait,
It's-
Grace got you.
Yay,
Craig!
Craig! Yes! Thank you. Yeah, Craig!
So it's a small plate, and it's round, of course. It's white with a little pattern on it with blue.
Okay, now can you put a triangle piece of cake on that plate?
Yeah,
Let me know when it's there.
it's there.
Okay, so which way is it pointing?
Away from me.
Okay, now tell me a little bit about this cake from where your mind's eye is in your head.
Well, it's a layer cake, and it's got like vanilla custard in between the layers. There's a very thin chocolate cover on top and on the side, just very thin and crispy layer. And there's like blueberries and raspberries on top of it, and just delicious.
It's just
perfectly
delicious.
cut.
Perfectly
Perfect
cut.
triangle.
Perfect triangle.
Ready to eat.
Ready to eat. Okay, now try taking your mind's eye. You can
Yeah.
open your eyes for a second. Try taking your mind's eye from where it is in your eyes and move it to the other side of the cake right here. Can you do that? Can you move your mind's eye over here and see the cake?
And close my eyes again. or-
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now describe the cake from this angle on the other side of the cake. What do you see?
Yeah, well, it's a different angle, and now I can see the layers very clearly, and all the delicious vanilla custard in between, and the berries closer to me right now, and
They're closer to me right now, too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, that was perfect. That was really awesome. You nailed it. Okay, thank you so much. So we were able to see that rather than moving the plate around in his mind, he was able to move his mind's eye around the plate to see it from all angles. Dyslexics can do this with anything, basically, in life, not just physical objects, moving our mind's eye around issues to see it from all angles. Logic and problem-solving skills are enhanced in dyslexics. That is the gift of dyslexia. Back to the story. Things started to turn around tenfold when my mom took me to see a Davis Method facilitator, Kelly Brown. She spent a week essentially teaching me how I learn. Did anybody get that? Cyclops? X-Men? Yeah? Okay. With my mom and Kelly's help, my biggest weakness started to turn into my greatest strength. Hence the Cyclops. I think I'm hilarious, but I spend way too much time in my office alone, so. Okay. One of the things Kelly taught me was the concept of a trigger word. I said we do everything in pictures. What happens if we don't have a picture? For example, the words cat and elephant are easy. But what about words like yes, no, then? These words don't have an obvious image in my head. After I got home, my homework was to go down a list of about 200 known trigger words in the everyday English language. After getting through some of those, I was itching to get back to work. When I did, I realized that I would have to apply the same concepts Kelly was teaching me to Angular. Easy peasy, we'll just make Angular in pictures, right? Famous last words. Okay, at the time, I really wanted to learn NGRX. We were using it at my new exciting job, and I was so excited to learn NGRX. When I got to this page, I knew I was going to have to define every technical trigger word with a picture, with its own unique picture. So the first word I came across was NGRX, then framework, then state management, side effects, collection management. I think you get the idea. This is a great place to talk about an important distinction, the difference between complex and abstract. These words are not confusing for a dyslexic because they're complex, which they are complex. They're confusing for a dyslexic because they're also abstract. This is a hard combination for a dyslexic. What does abstract mean? It's also a trigger word. It means I don't have a picture. One of the things Ron Davis taught in his book, The Gift of Dyslexia, is when you read a sentence with a trigger word, that trigger word essentially disappears. Can you imagine trying to make sense of this page without any of the highlighted words? Let's try. NGRX is for building reactive applications in Angular. NGRX provides isolation of, entity, code generation, and developer tools that enhance developers' experience. I don't feel like my experience was enhanced. And I was being generous because I did not re-highlight any of the trigger words that I highlighted before, so just a little example there. Okay, so you can imagine where this next part was going. I couldn't find any visuals online, very, very little visuals online. So I started a course, Angular for the Visual Learner. And this is the process of me trying to learn Angular in pictures, and I am recording it. It's just for the 1 out of 10 people. And here's the first episode. We need volume. It's fine. We're getting there. It's going to be fine. Okay, let's try this one more time. Oop. Okay.
After I was diagnosed with dyslexia, I began to relearn Angular in a visual way, which I talk more about in an article linked in the description below. I quickly realized I was going to have to start from the very beginning. Welcome to the first episode of Angular for the Visual Learner, where we will be going over the difference between TypeScript and JavaScript. Here are the backend kids, PHP, C#, and Java. They're an elite basketball team that can handle pretty much anything you throw at them. JavaScript watched them for a long time, but JavaScript wasn't powerful enough to be on their team. JavaScript could handle things like mouse overs, button events, or drop-down menus, but the backend kids could do way more. In 2011, Node.js was introduced. Node helped JavaScript handle more backend type stuff, such as generating dynamic page content, creating, opening, reading, writing, deleting, and closing files on the server, collecting form data, adding, deleting, and modifying data in your database. In this scenario, we can imagine Node as a personal trainer for JavaScript.
Go JavaScript, you got this!
The longer they trained together, the more powerful JavaScript became. More developers were using JavaScript and building larger applications. Larger applications meant that JavaScript needed more structure and rules. And that is how TypeScript was born. In 2012, TypeScript was released. TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript. TypeScript introduced strict typing and a way to catch errors before even saving a file. All of the changes, typing, tooling, and structure, were part of the TypeScript release. That is the story of how JavaScript evolved into TypeScript.
Thank you. Since the first episodes, my number one question that I got was how? How can I turn any word into a visual? So, for the rest of my time today, we are going to be turning words into visuals. Yay! It's gonna be so fun. So the words we are going to be defining are Viking, variable, and function. The visuals that we come up with for these words are what I'm going to see subconsciously in my mind whenever I hear or read these words. So the steps we're going to walk through are word, definition, sentence, storyboard, visual. Word, definition, sentence, storyboard, visual. These steps are flexible and they do not have to be used for every word. Some words need more visuals than others, basically. Remember, visual aids help with abstract concepts. First things first, we're going to start with Viking. This one is super easy because we've seen them walking around everywhere the last 2 days. Okay. Easy stuff. I have found that 2D visuals are usually enough to help me understand, but 3D visuals are the ultimate learning material for me. Now, every dyslexic is different. Everybody has a different experience with dyslexia, so things that work for me might not help other dyslexics, but things that help other dyslexics might not help me either, so it's kind of a fair trade there. So what I want to show here is some words don't have to be intentionally defined. I can see a mango in my head without making a 3D visual of a mango. Trigger words are only words without obvious pictures in my head. The next word we're going to look at is variable. This word is actually in one of my episodes, but we're just going to walk through the process of it. So this might seem easy to you Angular developers, but when I started my journey visually, I had to start from the very beginning. So, our definition is a variable is a container for storing data. The sentence is, a variable can store your data. So here is our visual, just a sketch. Stick figures totally work. Now this is usually enough, but we saw the variable 3D earlier, so we're just gonna make the visual. Here's it in 3D because it was fun. And the next one is featured in an upcoming episode. This one is function. Now this one is a little bit trickier visual-wise because it has a condition. So let's look at the definition. A function is a block of code written to perform a certain task after it's called. So a function only works after it's called. Okay, so let's do this. When called, function A's task is to make a PB&J. That's our sentence. So we are going to make a visual based off of our sentence. Okay, now we see he's being called, he's got his ingredients, and then once the sandwich is finished, he returns back to his little starting point. Okay, and if it's beneficial for you, make a 3D visual. So here's my little 3D visual. He's making this little sandwich, putting on things. Let's watch it one more time, because I worked really hard on it. So. He's got this little sandwich. Okay. To those of you without dyslexia, the next time you write an article, conference talk, or a company lunch and learn, include some pictures. Because remember, dyslexics need pictures, but everyone benefits from pictures. The next time you teach something, if they're having a hard time understanding, I challenge you to try to explain it in a different way. Analogies are amazing. To the visual learners in this room, first off, you can sit with us. Second, if you can't find visuals or pictures online, make them yourself. And then share them. I promise you some of your friends will benefit from your visuals. What I want you to take away from this talk is teach in your own way. So this has ended up taking a little bit longer than I thought it would. I had a detour when I was trying to figure out how to bring this to life digitally, because if anybody knows about stop motion animation, you move an arm, you take a picture, you move an arm, you take a picture. Oh, it took me a year to come out with 2 episodes, so I switched to 3D animation, and my life has exponentially gotten better. So shout out to Nathan Walker and Still Trying on Blender Artist for all the support on this project. And if you think this might help someone, please sketch out your ideas. If you have a great way of explaining something, sketch it out. I will make it in a 3D visual, and it might get featured in one of my upcoming episodes. And if you guys send me storyboards, not only will I be so excited, but this process will go a lot faster, and I would love to get back to my actual job. Okay, thank you. First, that is the link to my course on teachable.com, so if you want to grab that, it's right there. I'll also share my slides on Twitter. And if you want to send me sketches, here's my email. You can sketch them out, send them to me, and you will be my hero. Okay, that's my talk. Thank you.